The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation, make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels, operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Clatskanie, Oregon, on your new fire apparatus, job number 33437. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting at the front bumper, you'll find on the passenger side your speaker for your PA siren. Moving just inside of that location, on the outer sections of the frame rail, you'll find dual air horns on the passenger and driver's side. Moving all the way to the driver's side, you'll find your mechanical siren mounted on the bumper face. Let's move just behind the bumper onto the sides. You'll find a side-facing emergency warning light, passenger and driver's side. Moving up from that location, we'll find the marker light turn indicator. Just inside of that location on the face, you'll find your headlight structure housing a low and high beam headlight. And moving up from that location, you'll find a turn arrow and also a forward-facing emergency warning light. Let's go ahead and move to the side of the apparatus where you'll find grab handles at all points of entry for personnel. You do have door latches which are keyed, and then you'll also find your mirror on the front section. The mirror happens to have a flat portion on the upper section and then a convex portion on the lower section. As we move to the front windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers across the one-piece seamless windshield. Here's a close-up of the headlight structure housing the low and high beam. As we move to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find your running lights at the very top. There are 5 of them. Also moving directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. And then up onto the roof of the apparatus is where you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Let's move now to the driver's side. Just past the front door, you'll find your shoreline inlet. This is a 20 amp plug. As we move now to the notched area, let's start at the very top first with the indication that this is a warning label and not to mix different foam consistencies for foam failure. We also have a pressure hazard warning label here that caps may be under pressure and be cautious when removing them. And then also a not ride on the side of the apparatus or fall injury warning label. As we start in the upper left-hand corner, we're going to find the foam inlet. Just beneath that, you'll find 2 2.5-inch discharges. Moving to the right, you're going to find in the center your large diameter pump intake with the Pierce American Flag Eagle logo. Moving to the upper right-hand corner, you'll find your relief valve gauge, and then just to the right of that, you'll find the relief valve. Also moving to the right, you'll find your foam discharge, and then just beneath that, we'll find a pan door. We'll talk about the contents behind that in just a moment. Let's move down now to the 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet down at the lower right-hand side of the image. Inside that pan door is where you're going to find the foam strainer backflush. I do have an image of that in the lower section. It is a ball valve. Let's move back now to some close-ups of those images that we just talked about. First on the left, your foam inlet, and then also the 2 2.5-inch discharges. Located on the right, you'll find your foam outlet and then also your intake relief valve. And then just beneath that, you're going to find all of your associated discharge drains, which are simply color-coded and also labeled. Let's now move just above this location, above the notch, where you'll find a warning label here regarding entanglement hazard. This is where your crosslays are located. There are 2 crosslays in the lower section. Those crosslays do have speed load capability. The release mechanism to release that tray is just in the very center. Let's move from this location just upward where you'll find a pan door. To access this pan door, simply lift and turn the latch. To the right of it, you'll find a 2.5-inch discharge. This is your other crosslay. As we now look with the door in the open position, you can see that there is a strap inside. This is for your backboard storage location or long tools. As we move to the side of the apparatus, let's move to the very first compartment past the notch area. This is going to be your pump panel compartment. Let's start at the very top inside this compartment with the OK to pump if this light is illuminating. To the left-hand side, you'll find a husky indication here for your foam operations for foam low, normal, or foam high.
You'll also find a foam level indicator on the right hand side in the red module. Moving just to the right in the gray area, you'll find your master intake, and then moving further to the right, you'll find your master discharge. Located directly in the center, you'll find the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently capped. Let's move to the upper right-hand corner of the image where you'll find, if illuminated in yellow, that'd be the PCM fault, and then just beneath that an audible alarm. The outer edge of that bezel does allow you to dampen the sound. Let's move downward from this location. Let's identify a few items here. First, at the very top, you'll find all of your metering valves for crosslays 1, 2, and also your deluge and driver's side large rear discharge. Just beneath that, you're going to find all of your open and close valves, which are electronic, and then just beneath that, you'll find the foam shutoff valve, which is currently in the closed position because it's illuminated in red. As we move to the right, you'll find your Husky system here. This is your system activation and also foam tank to pump. And then just beneath that, you'll find the foam tank fill module. Let's move to the right and we'll find your Pierce pressure throttle governor. Let's identify a few items within that module. First, starting at the very top, if illuminated, a check engine light would be yellow. Moving to the center section will be a tachometer or RPM digital readout, and then to the right, if illuminated, red would be the stop engine. As we move down from that location, you'll find engine diagnostic information. All the way to the very far right-hand side, you'll find information regarding your pump temperature. Moving downward from this location into the blue module, you'll find your water tank level indicator. Moving to the right, you'll find the silence, which is the red button, which will silence the audible alarm. And then just beneath that, you'll find the orange menu button, which allows you to scroll through the various menu functions. As we move down, you'll find two indicators, either pressure control or RPM throttle control. To make the change between the two of those, you select the control module, and that's going to be the blue button on your left. Located in the center, you'll find a throttle ready, indicating that you can engage the throttle, and to the right, the green, which is a preset button if you decide to utilize presets. Moving downward is where you'll find the throttle, right to increase, left to decrease, and if you'd like move to the idle position, you can push directly in the center where the idle is located. Let's move downward from this location, where we're going to start in the upper right-hand corner, first with a warning label that only trained personnel should operate this equipment. As we move down, you'll find two electronic valves on the left-hand side. This is for number 2 passenger side discharge and number 4 passenger side discharge. You'll also find your electronic valve for your 2.5-inch crosslay, and then also the driver rear discharge. As we move to the center, the large wheel, this is going to be your tank to pump. Moving to the right and slightly down is where you'll find your minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll come back to that in a moment. In the red, this is going to be your Husky foam system manual override. There are instructions within this placard. And then to the right-hand side, you'll find your fire pump primer. And there's also priming instructions at least 1,000 RPMs. Below, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line. Let's go back to the minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. On the left are the associated GPM, and on the right-hand side are the RPMs, with a governed speed of 2100 RPMs and the job number 33437. Let's move to the left-hand side of the pump panel. In the compartment, you'll find switches for front flood, driver's side scene, and also passenger side scene. On the right-hand side, you'll find the control module. This is the yellow module here. This is for your Wilbert mast light on the very top of the vehicle. Also on the top of this module, you'll find a light tower height of 17 feet. If you make any changes, please update this placard. As we move to the lower section on the left-hand side, this is going to be your master drain. It is a twist left to right. And then you'll also find instructions here regarding your Husky 30 foam system. There's also information on how to operate and shut down. As we move to the very bottom, you'll find all your associated color-coded and labeled drains. Let's move back up into that pan door, which we saw on the right-hand side. Behind that pan door is where your manual pump shift override is. It is a protected switch, and it does have a indicator which will illuminate if engaged. Just to the right, you'll find a pull-out style tool board. The release is on your right. As we move just in front of the rear tire, you'll find 3 SCBA bottle storage with retaining straps. As we move to the mid compartment, you'll find a D handle which will allow you to gain access behind the toolboard. Once the toolboard has been opened, the latch mechanism will lock on the left-hand side of the hinge as the release. As we move to the rear section of the rear tire, you'll find this compartment housing your ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel, which is your silver cap, and the 4.5 US gallon blue DEF cap. Also, as we move through some of the compartments, you do have LED lighting and also adjustable shelving. Let's now move to the rear compartment, or rear of the apparatus. We'll first start with the brake, turn, and reverse lights located on the left and right hand side of the truck. Located in the lower section is where you're going to find your lower rear emergency warning lights. Moving up to the top section is where you're going to find the upper emergency warning lights. Moving just down from this location is where you'll find a cupped switch. This is the switch that controls the rear scene light, which is located just above the Pierce logo directly in the center. Let's move slightly to the right where you'll find a large diameter discharge. This is your rear large diameter discharge. Just up from that location, you'll find the rear 2.5-inch discharge. As we move to the right, you'll find 2 pan doors. We'll talk about the contents within those doors in just a moment. Just down at the very bottom, this is a close-up of the rear scene light switch. Now looking at the rear with the roll-up door in the upward position, you'll find a tray at the bottom. The release is on the right-hand side. There are also some warning labels I'd like to talk about. There is a fall hazard, not to ride on the side of the vehicle, and use caution when climbing on the vehicle. And then also at the very top, an entanglement hazard because of those warning of those hoses coming off above. In the first pan door, you'll find your 24-foot and 14-foot ladder. And then you'll also find at the very top section the 10-foot folding ladder, and then also long-handled tool storage. Let's move to the upper left-hand side where you'll find 2 troughs housing the location for your suction hoses. Onto the opposite side, right-hand side or passenger side in the rear, you'll also find 2 additional trough storage locations. Here's a close-up of the driver's side rear discharge, 2.5-inch male. And as we look to the right-hand side of the vehicle, as it is on the left-hand side, you'll find emergency warning lights, upper and lower, and then you'll also find your side-facing scene lights. Let's move to the top of the vehicle where you'll find these diamonds located on the very top, indicating the walkway area for firefighters. In the dunnage area, you're going to find your top fill water location. This is the top of your water tank. And then to the right, you'll find your foam tank for foam B. There's also a warning label here regarding foam failure and not to mix different brands or consistencies of foam. We'll now move to the rear section. You can see you have a covered hose bed, and you can see the yellow diamonds all around the outer edge of this walking surface. As we move to the center area just in front of the dunnage, you'll find your exhaust. You have a warning label down in the lower left-hand corner. Just in front of that, you'll find your master stream device. And then to the right-hand side, you'll find your Husky foam system. This is the hydraulic tank for that foam system. Let's go ahead and look at some close-ups of the images that we just talked about. First, a warning label here regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious not to burn yourself. As we move now to the hydraulic oil, this is the reservoir for your Husky foam system. There is a sight gauge down at the lower portion and a fill cap at the very top. There's also a shutoff valve, which is going to be located down at the lower section. It's the red valve. Let's go ahead and move now to the forward section of the cab. You'll find 2 warning labels here. This is not a walking surface, and be cautious if you're in that area. You'll also find located in the center your night scan built by Wilbert. As we move around to the side of the vehicle, this is now the passenger side. You'll find LED lighting, once again adjustable shelving. In this compartment to the rear of the rear wheel is where you're going to find 2 bottle storage locations for SCBA and also a oxygen bottle storage. Moving to the center compartment, you'll find an adjustable shelf. Just to the front section of that, just in front of the rear wheel, is where you're going to find 3 SCBA bottle storage with retaining straps. As we move to the next compartment, you'll find adjustable shelving and also a pull-out tray at the lower section. As we move to the midsection, same configuration as the driver's side. You have 3 cross lays on this side. The lower section does have a speed lay and allows you to remove that speed lay by utilizing this latch. You'll also find a warning label here regarding entanglement hazard, and that's why we have this, because of those hoses coming off aloft. Let's now move to the passenger side notched area where your pump panel is located. On the left-hand side, you'll find a 2.5-inch water strainer. On the right-hand side, you'll find your foam system flush. It's an on-off, open and close, and it's an indicator for red, closed, green, open. You'll also find on the right-hand side the cab lift instructions. It's a protected switch for raise and lower, and then an activate switch on the right. Located in the center, the Pierce American Flag Eagle is your large diameter intake, and just to the right you'll find a warning label here regarding pressure hazard because of those caps that may be under pressure. There are two 2.5 discharges on this side. These are both electronic valves, and because of those being electronic, we do have two overrides located here also. Down to the lower left-hand side in the image, you'll find your passenger side auxiliary inlet, and then we also have a warning label here regarding fall not to ride on the side of your apparatus. As we move down to the lower section, you'll find all your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's go ahead and take a few close-up images of the things that we just talked about. First, starting in the upper left-hand corner with the water strainer. This is a 2.5-inch cap. Moving to the right, you'll find your foam system flush, a red and green indicator for open and closed. And then you'll find your cab lift instructions here for to raise cab or to lower cab. As we move down, you'll find the two 2.5-inch discharge, number 2 and number 4, and the overrides. As we move down to the lower left, you'll find your passenger side auxiliary inlet. This is a female coupling. And then as we move to the very bottom, you'll find your color-coded and labeled drains. Let's move to the side of the apparatus where you'll find Clatskanie Fire District logo at the very top, in addition with two side-facing floodlights. As we move down to the lower section, you'll find bottle storage location and also a side marker light. As we move to the cab, you'll find cab lights where the step locations are at, so you can illuminate for personnel getting in and out of the cab. You'll also find in the center section, as we move inside to the rear of your apparatus, the daily checks for oil and transmission. This is your access for that. Let's move back now to the rear wall. This is going to be an EMS compartment cabinet. You'll find inside that compartment LED lighting, adjustable shelving. On the left, you're going to find a battery direct 12-volt access. And to the right, you'll find the Shoreline outlet. When you're plugged into Shoreline, this will be activated. Let's move directly behind the rear seats is where you'll find an air compressor. When plugged into shore power, this will be active and maintain your brake pressure. Moving to the opposite side behind the seat, you'll find when plugged into shore power, this outlet will be active for 110 power. And then just beneath that, you're going to find a 12-volt battery direct bus. Let's now move to the door panels where you'll find at all points of entry these warning labels. We happen to be in the officer's area where you'll also find the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. Let's move just under the officer seat where you'll find a storage location. And then now we'll move just directly upward to the center location where you'll find 12-volt barrel style access. And then you're also going to find your mechanical siren push button to activate that mechanical siren. Let's go ahead overhead from the officer's location. You'll find push on and off white and red lights on the passenger and driver side. On the driver's side, you'll also find a pull lanyard for the air horn. Also, directly in the center, you'll find a red light that illuminates, indicating you have a door open or a compartment ajar. Also located in the center, you can see you have a seatbelt information sign. We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's now move to the driver's side. We do have, once again, those safety warning labels affixed to the door panel and also to the seat. Let's move to the lower right ankle of the operator where you'll find your manufactured by Pierce for your department with a date of manufacture, job number. You'll also have gross vehicle weight ratings, cold tire inflation, VIN number, and also your fluid capacities for the component, fluid capacity, and fluid type. Let's move now to about the left ankle of the operator. You'll find when plugged into shore power, this is your battery charging system. Also about the left knee of the operators, we're going to find your battery switch. This is the master battery switch. To the right, you'll find your engine and transmission diagnostic port. Just beneath that, you'll find a set of switches and also indicators. You have an ABS diagnostics, a DPF regen, an engine diagnostic indicator, and then also an engine inhibit. As we move to the left-hand side of the column, you're going to find your ignition and start. And then just inside of that location, you'll find the EM switch, which stands for Emergency Master. That will engage all of your emergency lights. To the right, you'll find your headlight switch, and then further to the right, you'll find your panel rocker switch, which allows you to brighten or dim panel lights. Located on the steering column, you'll find on the left at the very top section your turn indicator. Just beneath that, you'll find the tilt and also telescoping for your column. And also just underneath, you'll find the pull for your hazard lights. This is your four-way hazards. Let's move to the opposite side of the column, where you'll find your ability to engage the high idle. This is an OK to engage high idle, which is a green indicator and the switch on your left. As we move to the dash, we'll start on the left-hand side with your transmission oil DEF level and water temperature. On the right, you'll find your volts, fuel, front and rear air. Your speedometer and tachometer are located in the center with diagnostic information above and below the speedometer. Let's move just to the right of the steering wheel. You'll find two sets of switches. We'll go over those in just a moment. Just down from that, you'll find the yellow triangle, which is your pull to apply your system parking brakes and push to release. And then to the right, you'll find a digital transmission pad here. That's your Allison transmission pad. As we start in the upper left, you'll find in red the siren brake, siren horn, electric siren or mechanical siren indicator, a stationary OK to pump and roll, and also your water pump and foam system. Let's move down to the next set of switches, where you're going to find the engine brake on-off, your engine brake's settings for low, medium, or high, a mirror heat, differential lock on or off, differential lock activated, that's an indicator, and then to the right you'll find your load manager either on or off. Let's move just to the right. You'll find your climate control in the gray, heat and air conditioning, combo, and also AC. You'll also find you push to apply windshield wiper fluid just to the right and then turn right to left to turn on those windshield wipers. You also have main mirror and convex mirror controls. Once again, your system parking brake, pull to apply, push to release, and then to the right you'll find the pump in neutral indication here for your Allison transmission pad. Let's move overhead, general view here over the operator's head. Let's start first on the left-hand side with this placard regarding the height, 10 feet 4.5 inches, your length 31 feet 3 inches, and a gross vehicle weight rating of 49,000 pounds. If you make any changes to your apparatus that may affect any of these, please update this placard. Let's just move to the right now. We'll find an additional set of switches which houses the emergency master switch, your roof light, front warning lights, side warning, and then you have lower rear warning and upper rear warning. Just to the right of that, you'll find an additional set of switches housing the front flood. That's the light located directly in the center below the light bar, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, perimeter lights, which are the lights that are just underneath the vehicle, and then also your rear scene light. Let's move just to the right again, where you'll find a digital readout for your pump pressure and then also a water tank level indicator. You'll also find seatbelt information, red indicating someone is in the seat and they are not belted, green that they are in the seat and belted. Moving to the right, you'll find your code 3 siren and also PA system. General view here of the rear section of your apparatus with the two rear-facing SCBA seats, overhead push on and off white and red lights, and then SCBA holder on the passenger and driver side. Congratulations, Clatskanie, Oregon, on your new fire apparatus, job number 33437. If you have any questions about your vehicle, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.